speaker of the evening. It's Peter Woods, and he's doing a level 9 speech, which is about persuading with power. The intentions or objectives of the speech are to persuade the listeners to adopt his point of view, to appeal to the audience's interests, to use logic and emotion to support his position, and to avoid using notes. When I asked Peter about what his intentions for summer holidays were, he said, well, he hopes to get a house soon, so summer holidays will be cancelled for this year, next year, the year after. But he has plenty of time to watch furniture programs on TV, doesn't he? So with that, Peter, with his speech entitled Ignorance is Bliss, Peter Woods.
President Rowe, Toastmaster Perry, fellow Toastmasters, and very welcome guests. Last year in the UK, they introduced or built a nuclear power plant that would sustain 7% of the energy needs of the UK. If you put that in perspective to Ireland, we would actually maintain our energy needs from that one power plant. Unfortunately, the Irish government decided ignorance is bliss, and we wouldn't even look into the feasibility of whether or not we wanted this. Toastmasters, nothing infuriates me more than this. So, my aim this evening is to encourage you to, more so than you already do, embrace knowledge a little bit more and be a bit more aware of issues. I feel there's a certain lack of awareness of issues. And to do so, I'm going to talk about another topic, which is a very sensitive and controversial matter, but I hope to deal with it in an appropriate manner that doesn't offend me. And that is stem cell research. Now, first thing is, what are stem cells? Stem cells are an undifferentiated biological cell. In English, that means it's a cell that has no function, but we can differentiate it to serve a purpose. So if we have a stem cell, we could grow it into an eyeball, an ear, a heart, lung, skin, spinal cord. Endless possibilities in what stem cell research can produce. So with that, there are two main types of stem cell research, and you'll see very quickly where the controversy arises. The first is embryonic stem cell research. This is where you use an embryo to do so. Now I'll talk about the controversy side of it a bit more in detail. And literally what they will do is they will use the embryo and take the cells from it. However, doing so will mean that it will never fulfill its normal path and become a baby and so on and grow up. The other, far more acceptable variant is called adult stem cell research, or somatic stem cell research. Now, this can be done quite easily, in that provided you're willing to let a doctor stick a drill into you and dig around in your bone and pull out some bone marrow, it's one of many ways. They can use stem cells and study away with that. And with that, they can really produce some positive results. So that's how stem cells work. Now, that's the oversight of it. I have only a certain amount of time, and I don't want to get into too much detail for two reasons. One, after reading a certain number of articles, I got really, really confused because my level of medical science doesn't go into it. But I think there's a lack of awareness about this. And I think it's something we need to focus on a little bit more because there's huge potentials. I've mentioned some of them already, but I'm going to talk about two very outspoken candidates. And I'm sure then you will go, I know someone in a similar situation. The first is Michael J. Fox, a man who has had Parkinson's for over 20 years. Now, when he got Parkinson's the first time, he spent 10 years of his life drinking. That was all he did. And he said it was 10 years of his life lost. He's now living with Parkinson's, but is constantly an activist for stem cell research and embracing it a bit more. How different would his life have been without stem cell research? As he said, he wouldn't change it because he wants his wife and kids, but he would have had a very different life. He mightn't have been drinking solidly for 10 years, which would have been a better time better spent. The other is Christopher Superman Reeves. In 1995, he was thrown off a horse and left a quadriplegic. He couldn't move anything from the neck down, and every single thing was taken through a tube to eat. He could speak, that was about it. stem cell research has the capacity to have allowed him to make a full recovery. Now that's something to think about. Now the things I've mentioned there, Parkinson's and quadriplegia. Now in some variant, I'm willing to bet every one of the person in this room either knows someone or knows of someone who is affected by this. And if you think about it, we're not too far from where the National Rehabilitation Clinic is on Rochestown Avenue. And I'm sure if you walk around there, you'd go, God, I really wish that that person could have whatever it is they might need. And there is that potential to be unlocked. So we need to focus a little bit more on this. I am delighted to say that while I slated the Irish government earlier on, that they did make a big, big difference. And this big difference is that we opened a facility in Cork where we're going to promote and study in stem cell research. It will be adult stem cell research, so there's no controversy around that. But the controversy that is there is in embryonic stem cell research, and rightfully so. It brings in the whole abortion debate because you are terminating a life. However, there are some positives and a couple of things on it. The first off, in the case of IVF treatments, every year in Australia there were 70,000 embryos that were created in the lab as part of the treatments that are just gone to waste. There is a point that they're going to be terminated anyway. We could perhaps use them, terminate might be the wrong word, they're going to be disused for whatever reason. They can be used for stem cell research because they're in a raw form. We could use them better. So a lot of people might think, well, I'm a religious person, whatever else. So where do the various religions stand on this matter? As a whole, Christianity has said no to embryonic stem cell research and yes to somatic stem cell research, which is where a lot of people would be, and I think that's a good thing. And the religions are behind it. In particular, the Jewish faith has actually gone one step further and said that we will even support embryonic stem cell research provided it's never been in place of the womb. Now, Toastmasters, that's all I can really tell you about stem cell research, the potential of it. We haven't done a great deal with it. There is a world of what we could do. But you might think about it now and go, well, everyone in my life is healthy, which is probably what you were doing, what I'm doing. But later in life you might need that, and it's better that that fight has already been won for you now rather than when you need it. So I leave you with what I said at the start. I wanted you to just think, be more open to issues. So I would say this to you: get informed, stay informed, and inform others. Mr. President.